In this video, I'm going to explain why I think Sui goes to at least $30 and why it'll be one of the best performing assets in crypto during this bull run. So the first important point to understand is this idea of next generation tech narrative, right? So if we go back to last cycle, Ethereum was one of the top performing assets, right? It went up over 4,000%, right? And this was because a lot of the adoption was focused on Ethereum. All the DeFi and NFT products were on Ethereum, and that led to this huge momentum and price gain. But then we had a new chain which fixed the issue Ethereum had. So Ethereum was expensive to transact on, it had high gas fees. And Solana fixed this problem by providing a blockchain with cheaper and faster transactions. And it performed very well, going up to almost $260, right? And a lot of this momentum was fueled because of having better fundamentals and a better technology than Ethereum, sorry. Now we have a new chain called Sui. And Sui, I believe, is positioned to do what Solana did last cycle, which is be that new blockchain with superior technology fundamentals. And I'll explain in this video why I think Sui has better fundamentals than Solana. But the trend is basically last cycle, money and capital left Ethereum into the new blockchain, Solana. And I believe this cycle will see capital moving out of Solana into Sui. And I'll explain why I think Sui has better fundamentals. But first, we have to look at what exactly caused this rise in Solana last cycle. And a lot of this momentum and this price gain was because of this idea of FOMO, right? Fear of missing out. People didn't want to miss out on the next big blockchain. They didn't want to miss out on the blockchain where all the new applications would be built, where all the memes, all the products and all the activity was going to be on, right? And that led to this huge momentum and price increase. So if Sui is able to create this idea of being the next blockchain where all the activity would be on, then it can have a similar price reaction to Solana last cycle. And I'll explain now why Sui has superior design and better fundamentals. So Solana's rise last cycle, we agree, was due to better fundamentals. It was cheaper and faster to transact on Solana relative to Ethereum. But what is the problem with Solana currently? So Solana faces congestion and outages when there's high activity on the chain. So we've seen this happen with the Trump coin, for example. There was high activity and Solana cannot handle all that activity. So what does Sui have that's better than Solana? It's able to scale, right? It can handle more volume and more users. And this has to do with a two-part system. So firstly, there's this idea of latency, which measures the time until a transaction is executed, and throughput, which measures the number of transactions executed during a specific time period. And both of these aspects, Sui has higher latency and higher throughput compared to Solana, right? And why is this important? So basically, it's built to onboard 1 billion users. The Sui blockchain can onboard 1 billion users, while something like Solana can't handle that many users. And this is important because where crypto is currently, with Bitcoin going to the highest prices it's ever been, right, over 100K, Bitcoin and crypto is getting more mainstream, right? And when millions and millions and potentially billions of people go on chain, they need something that can handle that many people. And Solana isn't built to handle that many people. And if you want to see great gaming products, great NFTs, and great DeFi products, it's essential that we have low latency and high throughput so we can handle all these users into the ecosystem, right? And Sui fixes the problem Solana currently faces. So in addition to that, Sui is backed by top VCs, right? Miston Labs, which created Sui, was founded by a great team of ex-Facebook engineers. And Sui currently is very much in this adoption phase. It hasn't been around for a full cycle. It's only came out in June of 2023. So we don't really know how high this thing can go during a bull run with peak euphoria and peak hype, right? So so currently it actually sits at number 14 in terms of cryptos by market cap. And for some reference to see how high this could potentially go, based off what Solana did last cycle, we can see that Solana last cycle went to about a $78 billion market cap. So Sui currently sits at a market cap of 12 billion. So a 70 going to 76 billion would be about a 12x from here, about a 6.5x from here, which would potentially put Sui at about $26, right? Somewhere around here. But I believe it can actually go higher than 26 simply because, as we discussed earlier, there hasn't been a cycle where Bitcoin has gotten this big and crypto is growing in general. So it makes sense that some of the performances this cycle could be larger than last cycle. So I think at least $30 is very doable for Sui. But what should you do right now, right? We're looking at Sui, and is it a good time to get in right now? So I think it's a decent time to get in. Personally, I got in a bit earlier around this 3.4 range before some of this movement here. But I think it's a good time to get in now because, first of all, you're not buying at all-time highs, which is it's down over 25%, right? So you're not buying at all-time highs. But secondly, if you believe this narrative that Sui can do something similar to Solana last cycle, and you believe it'll be the big layer one, that people will have fear of missing out on this next big blockchain, then it makes sense to buy anywhere in this area, right? A lot of people might look at this chart and see some of the price movements from the low and say, oh, we're already up 640%. I missed it, right? It's too late. And that depends. If you understand this narrative and you agree with this narrative of Sui potentially doing what Solana did last cycle, then it still makes sense to buy at these prices. Another way you could play this trade is to look at what happened to Solana after the bull run during the bear market, right? This chart fell a lot. It fell over 95%. So if something similar happens to Sui, where we see a huge price gain potentially to $30, potentially higher, and then we see a bear market where Sui falls 95%, then if you're paying attention to crypto and you understand that there's still good projects being built, the team is very much still alive and innovating in Sui, then you could bet on Sui here, right? And it might do something similar to what Solana did when the momentum started gaining after the bear market. So I'm making a lot of comparisons to Solana because I do feel as though Solana and Sui are very similar. And I do think that capital will flow out of Solana, and Sui could potentially become the next big chain because it fixes the problem that Solana currently faces. So this is why I think Sui is going to go to at least $30. And thanks for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to write in the comments. I'll respond.